I'm Kiyan.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we're swallowed by inflatable chairs. Even though we're actually sitting on wooden stools right now, but whatever.
That becomes a key plot point. No, it doesn't. It's just a random occurrence, actually.
Yeah, just like randomly, about approximately halfway through the serial. It's a thing.
Probably one of the more ridiculous ways to die so far.
Well, I mean, besides ejecting yourself out of an airlock.
Really? I think getting swallowed by an inflatable chair is actually more ridiculous than that.
Okay, fair enough.
No, but this week we watched The Terror of the Autons, the first serial of Season 8.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets off to kind of a slow start.
There's a TARDIS noise, and then a horse car, apparently, whatever it was called, materializes. Whatever that thing was called, that truck.
They called it a caravan, but I think there's a different American term for whatever that thing is.
Well, that materializes, and you're like, whoa, did the Doctor get the TARDIS working again? No! Some other random guy.
It's, well, I knew he was going to show up, and so did you, but I guess we shouldn't say his name yet.
No. We should wait till it's revealed.
When is it revealed?
I don't know. I don't remember. No, I know it was revealed when the other Time Lord shows up.
Oh,
the
okay.
other one.
All right. But yeah, so some guy comes out of it, and he's at some circus ground thing, like I guess behind the scenes or in the back lot or whatever, because there's some other trucks and whatnot pulled up there, and the guy who owns the circus, I guess, or carnival or whatever it's supposed to be, comes along and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And the guy's like, "You're gonna help me do some stuff."
Wow.
I don't remember exactly what he did first. He stole the meteorite.
Yeah. He stole the meteorite, and then it cuts to Unit. Ooh.
Right, yeah, it cuts to the museum from that half-second scene of them stealing the meteorite.
And you see the Doctor in a new red coat, which only shows up for 5 minutes before he changes back into his black one for whatever reason.
Maybe they're foreshadowing something later on. That's not in this serial because
yeah,
it doesn't show up any other time. No, but as we mentioned last week, Liz is gone.
Yeah, and they only briefly mention that here when...
apparently, I'm just reading right now, she returned to Cambridge. I only vaguely remember that she's from Cambridge. I guess she mentioned it last week.
They mentioned it this week, because when Jo, the new companion, showed up, and she was not a scientist, the Doctor was like, "Hey, man, I want a scientist up in this." And Jo...
say it like that.
Jo is not a scientist, because Jo... What is Jo?
She's just an assistant. Because I remember she walks in, the Doctor's like, "What? What's going on?" Or he thinks she's some sort of maid or something. And she's like, "No, I'm your new assistant."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Wait, what? Are you a scientist?" And then that exchange happens where we find out she's not a scientist.
And... So that happens.
If you didn't already guess, Joe's not a scientist.
Yeah, and then the big mentions, "Oh, well, ever since Liz returned to Cambridge, you've wanted an assistant, so here you go, here's an assistant."
And then I wrote this down, actually. The Doctor says, "Well, I didn't want an assistant who's not a scientist." And the Brig's like, "No, Doctor, you seem to just want an assistant who can just affirm your actions all the time and tell you you're right." I was like, ooh, burn.
Which is exactly what he wants. Which is, this does sound like the Doctor. But anyway, the Doctor says he doesn't want Jo anymore, and the Brig's like, "Okay, fine. The only thing is you have to tell her." So the Doctor's about to tell Jo, and then he's like,
Lovely weather we're having.
Well, he doesn't say that, but yeah, something like that. And so then it cuts to that mysterious man again, and he's at a radio telescope, and he overpowers the guys there.
Yeah, they're up on the giant tower part of it thing. And so a few scientists, or one scientist gets shrunken down or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mediocre serial, and I was just like,
I was only watching it for the strange man because I knew who the strange man was.
Yeah, so did I. I spoiled it last week for myself, actually. When did you...
I spoiled it this week, well, just before starting it, like a couple days before.
Oh.
When I was busy uploading old episodes to YouTube, and I was like looking through the wiki at something.
Uh-huh.
And I accidentally spoiled it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Unit gets word of the fact that there's trouble at the radio telescope, so they head on over there with the doctor, the brig and the doctor, and I guess I wasn't sure about this, but I think this is where Yates appears, probably for the first time.
Yeah.
Presumably. Yates is, I guess, another recurring Unit character like Benton. Yeah.
We should just file them all under Unit. We should give them their own section on the companion kill count page. Unit.
We could.
Yeah.
Because, the brig even isn't... He's a companion, but he's different than, like, first and second Doctor companions.
Yeah.
Because of the new format here.
Yeah.
Well, not really new anymore, but... Yeah, no, we could actually just have them under their own category to differentiate them.
Yeah.
We'll discuss that, not here.
Not on the show.
Yeah. Anyway,
behind the scenes.
Anyway, Yates is a recurring character in this serial. And anyway, they find one of the scientists shrunken down inside a box.
Well, not yet. That's after the Doctor breaks in and stops the bomb, which is after the mysterious other Time Lord shows up.
Oh, right, because he jerry-rigs it to the door. So this was weird. And this doesn't get... well, I guess it doesn't really need to be explained, but it doesn't have any pertinence to anything. Anyway, what happens is this guy materializes. He was wearing something pretty ridiculous, but I don't even...
He had a cane.
Yeah, he had a cane. And he's like, "Hey, Doctor, the Master's here." The Doctor's like, "What, the Master?" And yeah, the mysterious man is the Master, so you probably know who that is if you know what Doctor Who is.
Yeah.
Essentially, he's the Doctor's rival, recurring rival, if you didn't know.
To use an overused metaphor, he's the Moriarty to the Doctor's Sherlock. That's actually how he was conceived, though.
Huh.
That's the actual thought process they used in creating him.
Huh. That's interesting. Well, we've seen other quote-unquote rival Time Lords with the Monk, but, he kind of devolved into comic relief.
I want to see the Monk come back and just be super ruthless. And the Doctor just be like, "Whoa, calm down, man. I don't remember you being like this."
Yeah, so anyway, this, I guess, unnamed Time Lord, he didn't have a name, right? He just appears to tell the Doctor that the Master's here, and that the Master wants to just wreak havoc on Earth, essentially. I think they go a little bit into his backstory, kind of.
Yeah, he has a higher degree in, like, celestial cosmology or whatever than the Doctor does, and the Doctor seems to brush that aside. He's like, but I'm better. And then he's like, "Oh, the monster's just super unoriginal." And then the Time Lord's like, "Do you call that unoriginal?" And the Doctor's like, "What?" And he tries to open the door, and the Time Lord's like, No. There's a bomb attached to that door. And then...
Yeah, it's the classic open the door and bucket of water falls on your head, except it's hooked up to a bomb.
A bomb that's going to vaporize for, like, miles around. It's like nuclear powered or whatever. And then the Time Lord's like, "Have fun, Doctor, bye."
I think he gives a reason for why he doesn't want to deal with them, because I guess the Doctor and the Master are both renegades, so the rest of the Time Lords are kind of just like, "Yeah, you guys can fight it out on your own."
Is the Doctor really a renegade right now? He's in an imposed exile by the Time Lords on Earth.
He's not a renegade now, but it's part of his character that he stole the TARDIS and everything. But
borrowed. Borrowed without returning.
So, I guess the Doctor is really quick on his feet because he opens the door and manages to...
he makes a dive. Makes a diving leap.
For, however it was rigged up. I guess he was able to stop it.
Yeah, it catches the bomb before it touches the ground, which is when it would detonate.
Oh.
I specifically remember this because it was like, why didn't you just like break through that window that was right next to the door and go in that way? Like, what?
Hey, high risk, high return. Except no, because it would be the same exact thing. Maybe you just likes.
And then he just
pounding.
Yeah, and then he dismantles the bomb while Yates comes in. He's like, no, stay back, Yates. I gotta dismantle this bomb.
That's when they find Googe, the guy who got shrunk down into the box.
Yeah.
Who was one of the scientists from before.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they ever go into Googe. I only know his name because I mentioned it once. And I remember it because
I read it on the wiki.
Well, it's one of those names where you're like, Googe, what? That's his name?
Like Tagana and Coquillion.
It's slightly less memorable. But yeah, I don't think they ever go into what happens to Googe.
We just assume he's dead, I guess.
Are we going to assume he's dead? I mean,
We both put him on the death count before we started recording.
It's true, I mean, but thinking back, he was just shrunken down. Does that necessarily mean he's dead?
Well, they don't have any way to get him back to regular size.
So, are we just putting him on as dying of old age? Anyway.
He's probably dead. Probably.
All right, we'll go with that.
So then, I don't know, the doctor figures out that the monster had rigged the radio telescope for something, and he figures that the stolen meteorite, which he got relayed word of from the Brigadier, was probably the monster. So he figures the monster probably wants to bring the Nestines to Earth.
Right, because we failed to mention that the meteorite was the thing from last time
Spearhead
with the Nestines.
from space.
Right. It was one of those meteorites.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to some plastic corporation.
Generic plastic corporation. Did you notice that truck they went around in later was just labeled plastic?
Yeah, it was actually like plastic goods or something twice. It was their logo. It said the logo was like plastic, and then underneath that smaller it said like goods or products or something, and then it just said it twice. It wasn't plastic.
Oh, I liked imagining its name was plastic.
The plasticiest of plastic. Anyway, apparently the master has infiltrated this company to the highest level.
Well, he can mind control people now, which I feel is a throwback to that, hey, Susan has telepathy thing that was introduced in the Sensorites but was never built on, ever, after that.
I completely forgot about that. Yeah, maybe.
How did you forget about that? Was the serial where the dog was like, Ian, I'm throwing you off at the next stop. That was that serial.
Yeah, I know, but I forgot about like that plot point.
Oh.
I don't think it was a throwback, most likely. I mean, different writers, different production staff at this point, years down the line.
I mean, Susan was a time lady, wasn't she? Or maybe she was just a generic Gallifreyan person.
Is that the female
Yeah.
form for the Time Lords? I didn't know that. Huh.
Well, the generally accepted one. I don't think it's ever said on screen as Time Lady. It was generally accepted. Because Lady and Lord.
Yeah.
Feudal titles.
Yeah. Makes sense. But yeah, we find out that there's discord within this company because the president or CEO or whoever it is, Rex Farrell, is the son of the former owner of the company, and he essentially no one takes him seriously because, I guess he was just put in that position due to family ties, and I guess his dad, it's implied that his dad built the company, but he's sort of just the incompetent son who took over.
Yeah.
That's what his assistant second in command chairperson guy implies with his dialogue. But then Rex Farrell, the son, starts working alongside the master, and his assistant, he wasn't an assistant, he was some other higher up in the company or something.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, this Colonel Masters, because that's the alias the master is using,
wow.
is pretty sketch. And Rex Farrell's like, no, he's not.
I mean, yeah, that's basically what happens.
Um,
And then Joe, since the doctors figured they're gonna go to plastic factories, the Brig makes up a list and sends out some people, and Joe decides to go to investigate one of them, and just so happens
despite the doctor not telling her not to.
Yeah, which she does a lot in this serial.
Usually getting them all into trouble.
Or totally ruining the doctor's plans, like right at the end.
Yeah. Anyway, she heads over to Plastic. I guess we're calling it that now. And apparently she gets into their office thing. It's a super easy company to infiltrate, and they leave their door open later too. I guess that's after they abandon the building, but still. She gets up to the highest floor and is mind controlled by the master.
Yeah, she's told to go back to the doctor and tell him that she didn't find anything, and that. So she does that, and then somehow,
she brings a bomb.
Oh, so that's how the bomb got there. I must have zoned out for like a couple minutes.
Yeah, the master tells her to go give the doctor this bomb to kill him.
Wow, I only remember him saying like, "Oh, you haven't seen me." Then I must have zoned out, because next time I zoned back in, Joe was trying to open a bomb next to the doctor, and I was like, "What? What is going on?"
Yeah, that's the end of episode 1. It cliffhangs you with the doctor's almost death, which it does again later. And obviously, the doctor's not going to die.
Been happening for 7 seasons now.
Yeah, pretty much. They've been getting more. They've been doing it more lately, since the start of the 3rd Doctor. Actually, I've noticed, and it kind of doesn't work because a doctor's not going to just straight up die in that way. I mean, even if you were watching it back in the day and you didn't know and you didn't know when the doctor was gonna, die or regenerate, you'd assume they weren't gonna just kill him off right then and there.
Just in the middle of a serial?
Yeah. I mean, well, the first and second Doctor's regeneration was like ceremonious almost. So they're not gonna just kill him off right then and there. What?
No, that's... Yeah, I don't know. I have no counterpoints. I agree. Anyway, the doctor chucks the bomb out the window and it lands in the ocean and blows up. The doctor has, I guess, an office now in some place that has an ocean view. I don't know if that's his official office or if it's just another room he happens to be inhabiting for whatever thing UNIT is investigating this week.
Was that an ocean that he threw it into? Or was it some sort of lake or something? I assume, because they're stationed in London, I assume.
Well, I mean, based on the interior of the place, I thought it was like a castle. It might have even been a river, now that I think about it. Might have been the River Thames.
The Thames?
Yeah, the Thames in
London. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Thames, whatever.
Who knows?
There's that castle just in London.
Aren't there, multiple castles?
Well, there's that one that's bordering on the river that becomes UNIT's Black Archive in the reboot.
Huh.
The Black Archive being the archive where they keep all the things they don't want anyone remembering, because they erase your mind as soon as you come out. And the guard's been on duty there for 7 years and he still thinks it's his first day.
Yeah, I don't know where they're situated. It's not really pertinent, actually.
No, it's not.
Interesting to think about, though. But yeah, apparently Jo is her mind has been destroyed or something like that, because she's
the mind robber.
Well, yeah, she is in a daze, and the doctor slowly coaxes her out of it.
Yeah.
And she feels pretty guilty about almost killing everyone. But eventually the doctor convinces her that it wasn't really her fault.
Can I just say I really like Jo as a companion?
Well, she's a lot better than Liz.
Yeah, but she also, I think this scene comes up soon, but just get to it now. The Brig is basically being incompetent, according to the doctor at least, and the doctor gets really mad at him, and Liz is like, you should apologize. He did save your life. This happens later, but yeah, I think she's going to be pretty good character development for the doctor.
Well, it's about time.
Yeah, I think she's going to be the one who pushes the doctor and the Brig to make up and become friends. And I don't know, she's being a lot more proactive than a lot of the previous companions, except for Jamie.
Yeah, I mean, definitely more than Liz. Definitely more than to the immediately comparable companion.
What I'm saying is I'm looking forward to seeing more of Joe.
Yeah, well, it'll happen.
Next week, they're just like, oh yeah, Joe went back to Cambridge or whatever. And like,
They write her out exactly the same way as Liz for no reason. Kind of like with Susan and Vicky. Anyway, back at the plastics factory, the chairperson guy is starting to think the master is even more sketch than he originally did. Because he's proposed a new line of inflatable plastic chairs.
hey, if someone just proposed that to you as a plastic corporation, you'd probably be like, no.
Yeah, it's true. He does go on to say that it'll never sell, though.
And I don't think they do sell it. I think that the monster only made that one to kill that guy.
Yeah, I think so too. So the master inflates the chair, and what's his name sits in it, and it swallows him up and kills him. Oh right, McDermott, that was his name.
Yeah, and he dies.
Yeah, one of the more out there deaths so far. It's not every day you die by. Well, it's not every day you die. You can only die once.
It's almost like when the doctor was like, the monster isn't creative, and the monster is actively trying to be creative, as creative as possible in this serial. Because then he gives old Farrell, because he's also thinking that the monster is pretty sketchy. Almost said the doctor. So he gives him like this weird brownie plastic doll thing by force. I might add. He chucks it in the guy's car and is like, no, I insist, please.
Right, because Farrell, old Farrell, John Farrell, came into the office. You know, he knew about McDermott's death, and he was kind of weirded out by the fact that Rex, his son, and the master weren't really fazed by McDermott's death.
Yeah.
But then the master gives him the little doll thing.
Which we're just going to skip to. It just ends up killing him when he gets home. The heat activates, it grows bigger, and it kills him.
It grew bigger? I thought it just stood up.
No, it got bigger because when they're holding it, they could hold it in their hands. And then it choked Farrell.
Okay. Yeah, I guess.
It may have been hard to tell with that 1970s green screen technology, which is just like playing the video in the background on a screen.
Oh yeah, we should mention that I guess this was the first time they were using green screen or something like it. I guess the 70s equivalent. It was noticeable though. You know, I guess it was a new technology back then. It was very noticeable.
I guess they were trying to save on the budget because then they wouldn't have had to do as much on location filming.
Yeah,
and they could do things like having the doll grow bigger without.
Yeah.
I mean, it won't look fantastic, but they could do it. Which is something they couldn't do before, or at least couldn't do easily. So yeah,
and when you think about the fact that, you know, maybe people were just maybe people back then were still watching it on black and white TVs.
That too. Or just generally lower quality TVs.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to get the full 1080p HD. I mean, neither are we, because it's not filmed on film, so it was filmed on whatever they filmed it on.
Tape.
It probably was tape.
Video there's that whole fiasco a few serials ago. Anyway, John Farrell, almost said Rob Farrell for some reason. John Farrell dies. He's killed by the little doll thing. You know, another weird death. We should mention now that we're counting the master's deaths because we're thinking about putting him on the kill count. So
his kills, not his deaths.
His kills, my
Although
bad.
He probably will die multiple times. He's a Time Lord.
Yeah, we're keeping track of his kills because we're thinking about putting him on the kill count because he's a recurring rival for the Doctor. So, you know, you can contact us and tell us if you think that's a good idea or not. We should
contact us.
We were kind of on the fence about it. But anyway, jeez.
Not much happened with the Doctor and Joe in this episode. But Phillips ends up dying. He was the other scientist. He was working for the Master for a bit, and then the Master realizes he's a liability, I guess. I don't remember how he dies. He dies.
He dies, actually, No, the doctor and Joe. Well, the doctor decides to go investigate the carnival site thing.
Oh yeah.
Because he finds out that some weird stuff was going on there. I honestly don't remember why he decided to go investigate it.
Oh, they found the tire tracks, and then they were like, "Oh, a circus had recently been there."
On the site where what happened?
I don't know, but they found tire tracks. Like, oh, the circus had been there, and the doctor's like, "Oh, I'll just go investigate the circus." Might have been the tire tracks, like at the radio tower at the plastic factory somewhere. I don't know.
Well, whatever. He decides to go there anyway, and the guy from before, Rossini, the guy who owned the circus, is still there because he's working for the master now, and I guess he was mind controlled. He captures the doctor, ties him up in some sort of coach thing.
Horse box. That's what it was called.
Horse box.
That was the master's TARDIS. Was the horse box. The master's TARDIS's chameleon circuit actually works, so it can disguise itself, unlike the doctor's police box.
So yeah, the doctor previously told Joe to stay behind, but she thinks that's a terrible idea, so she follows him and rescues him.
This is the one time it's actually a good idea.
She rescues him by knocking out someone, the guy who tied up the doctor. It wasn't Rossini.
Yeah. Rossini left the room, I think.
Yeah.
To go talk to the master, whatever, someone about the doctor. Anyway, the doctor breaks into the master's TARDIS and steals some weird tetrahedral shaped thing.
We don't know what it is yet, but we will soon enough.
When smoke comes pouring out of the doctor's TARDIS again. For the third time.
Well, there's some sort of mob that surrounds them once they get out of the master's TARDIS, and Unit is somehow alerted to their presence there, so they decide to go rescue the Doctor and Joe. So they do that, or so you think.
Yeah, and episode 2 ends with them driving away and Joe being like, "Wait, who are you? Where are they taking us?" And they peel off their face and reveal it's an Auton.
Dun, dun, dun.
I will give the serial credit. They improved the look of the Autons like tenfold. They looked a lot more creepy in this serial than they did in Spearhead from Space. Because the facial features are a lot less noticeable, as evident by that picture that just happens to be conveniently up on my screen.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, I didn't...
Well, yeah, because you barely ever saw their face because they were covered by those big heads.
Yeah. We should also mention that plot point, which has already happened, where the Autons are being used to distribute plastic daffodils to people to promote plastic.
I guess that's what we're calling it now.
Yeah. So yeah, Unit actually does go rescue the Doctor and Joe now. There's some sort of shootout thing. A couple Unit soldiers die, a couple Autons die.
And by a couple, you mean one soldier dies. Because this is episode 3.
Yeah, I guess one soldier dies.
An Auton is hit by a car and then it rolls down that hill. And then you think it's dead, and then it immediately stands up and starts climbing the hill, and you're like, oh.
Well, they are indestructible. Except a few of them die by getting blown up later. Presumably. They don't get back up again.
I think they die because the signal goes off like it did in the previous...
yeah, the signal went off.
Like in the previous serial. So anyway, this after the Brigadier rescues the Doctor and Joe, this is where the scene happens where the Doctor is all mad at the Brigadier and Joe's like, "He did save your life, you know." And he's like, "Well, I guess you're right. I'll apologize later."
Yeah, so... hopefully this is brought up again and not just glossed over like the incident with the Silurians.
They are making it a point that the Doctor and the Brigadier are still on rocky terms. They still keep subtly taking jabs at each other whenever they can.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though the Brigadier looks like he still respects the Doctor for who he is and still defends the Doctor as a scientific advisor for UNIT.
The Doctor does so too, almost. Remember when he was talking to that guy? He's like, the Brig has more important things to do than this.
They respect each other, but I think right now, character-wise, they just are... They're
still at odds with each other.
Yeah.
But anyway, we find out what it is the Doctor stole from the Master's TARDIS. It was...
a dematerialization circuit.
Right, which the doctor has been trying. The doctor's been trying to fix his
Yeah.
circuit too. So he decides to just use the master's circuit because hey, he has it. Why not? So he goes into the TARDIS, and we see some smoke come out. That's not a good sign. And the doctor walks out and reveals that, or tells Joe that the master has another model or something.
Yeah, it's a 2.0 circuit. The doctor only had a 1.0.
You'd think the Time Lords would upgrade his TARDIS before sending him off. Then again, he's not really going to need to use it for a while.
Yeah, well. Or maybe they downgraded it to make it harder to repair, That could be a possibility, too.
Huh. That's an interesting point.
But anyway.
Yeah, the doctor's still stranded on Earth. He's not
getting around this
easily.
exile.
But now I think he mentions here, and he also mentions it later too, that now the Master doesn't have his circuit anymore because the Doctor's stolen it. So the Master's stuck too.
Which becomes a major plot point right at the end of the serial. But anyway,
and sets up the Master's eventual return.
And by eventual, you mean like probably next week, right?
Yeah. He's the overarching. I guess we're spelling this out now. He's the overarching villain for this season and for the Third Doctor,
which should be interesting. They haven't done an overarching villain before, so I mean, I think it's better that we actually announce it now so we can discuss it throughout the season instead of like saying it at the end, like, "Hey, surprise!"
Kind of reminds me of the Great Intelligence, which they could have used as a recurring villain for that one season. They
would have made Fury from the Deep way better.
But that's all in the past now.
Pretty sure that was because of a rights issue, but anyway.
Really? It was? Well, I mean,
that's why they couldn't use the Yeti again, because of the rights. I'm assuming the Great Intelligence was assigned to the two writers too, because presumably any characters the writers create, the copyright is given to the writers to do with what they wish.
Yeah.
So presumably the master belongs to Robert Holmes. I guess presumably he realizes how lucrative it would be just to sell that license to the BBC.
Which happens, I guess, because he recurs in the reboot, I believe.
I don't know British copyright law, so I don't actually know what happened. Total biscuit.
That name drop.
He knows British copyright law.
What was going on?
I don't know.
Oh, right. I think this is when some agent from the government or the army comes in and tells the brig that there's been a series of asphyxiations.
Yeah.
Unexplained asphyxiations, actually. And that there's been no sign of strangling or inhalation of toxins. I believe he says something like that. And they're like, what? That's kind of weird. But the doctor, I guess, kind of defends the brig.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I guess he's kind of just looking out for the situation at hand with the Master and the Nestines and the Autons by saying that, the brig has more important things to do than deal with murders or deaths, string of deaths. But obviously the two are tied together. So he tells the guy to buzz off, and he doesn't take too kindly to that, as you would expect.
And some point in episode 3, there's the sketchy electrician installing a new phone in the doctor's room with a really, really, really long cord.
Yeah.
For some suspicious reason.
Well, cords are made of plastic. That's all I'll say about that until we get there in 2 minutes. Right, so yeah, he fixes the phone, and Yates
checks his papers.
Yeah.
Which check out, so
he sends him on his way.
Pretty much. And then, so they've come into possession of the doll from Farrell's house because the wife called him up after Farrell died, and the doctor thought it was suspicious, so they have the doll. Now, the doctor has gone out again, and Yates is like, I'm just going to make some hot cocoa on the doctor's Bunsen burner. Joe, do you want any? She's like, the doctor wouldn't take too kindly to that.
And Yates says, well, he's not here, is he? Or something along those lines. We mentioned the doctor had gone out, but where he actually went was he went with the brig to Plastics building to go investigate what's going on because he deduces that it's probably related to the Nestines because it's a plastic company. So
and they find the daffodil, a daffodil.
Yeah, they also infiltrate the highest floor. I think it was implied that the office building was abandoned.
Something like that.
And that's how they got up there, I believe.
Yeah.
But they're looking around the office. They find the daffodil. And there's a safe or just some other room in the back. I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be some sort of safe. But the doctor opens it. And there's an Auton inside and it shoots. And the brig just barely avoids getting shot.
It was almost a timely end to the Brigadier.
So the doctor immediately closes the door, and
they leave.
Yeah, and that puts a conclusive end to that. They are working with the Autons.
Right.
Meanwhile, back at the doctor's base, I guess we're referring to it as a base. The Yates starts making some hot cocoa. He turns on the Bunsen burner. And the doll, which reacts to heat, which they don't know yet, which the viewer could probably assume based on what happened before.
It attacks Joe.
Yeah, it attacks Joe.
And Yates blows it apart with his gun. Then the doctor's like, "What are you guys doing here?" And Yates like, definitely wasn't making hot cocoa."
No, he doesn't. He admits to making hot cocoa. Well, yeah, he admits to making hot cocoa.
He admits to leaving the room to get cocoa, and the doctor's like, "Were you making hot cocoa on my Bunsen burner?" He's like, "Okay, yeah." Then the doctor's like, "Oh, it was activated by heat. Good job, guys. Now I'm going to investigate all of you out." For whatever reason.
I thought it was kind of nice, actually. That humorous plot point ends up being the reason the doctor figures out they're activated by heat.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting. I always like when things like that happen. So, the doctor gets a phone call on the phone that had just been fixed, and it's the master. And the master says something along the lines of, "You're gonna die, doctor."
He says, "I've just called to say goodbye, doctor."
And he starts playing some tone over the phone, this brought to mind, in my opinion, like some sort of snake charmer, like charming the cord, whatever, to strangle the doctor, because that's what happens. The cord that the guy installed starts wrapping itself around the doctor, strangling him.
Yep.
And that's where episode 3 ends, again on another death cliffhanger.
Then the doctor, in episode 4, yells out for the Brigadier's help, and the Brigadier busts in and unplugs the cord, saves the doctor's life for the second time in this serial. Brigadier 2, Doctor 0. Or 1 if you count the Nestines, I guess.
Well, he just closed the door. The brig was the one who dodged the
I was talking about
blast.
The end when they stop the consciousness from another consciousness.
Yeah,
from
okay, I guess. Yeah, all right. Anyway, the doctor says something along the lines of, "They can control any form of plastic,
Which he said for the 3rd time this serial.
He
said it once before.
Well, it's pretty much just, if you've watched Spearhead from Space, you know that they can.
Yeah.
But maybe you haven't. And
yeah.
But we have. So
the daffodil doesn't react to heat, and they're like, "How does daffodil work?"
Right, they're trying to find what is up with the daffodils because they're being left everywhere.
Yeah, and meanwhile, the Brigadier and Yates have gone to go bomb the plastic van because they found it. We're like, well, we may as well bomb it because probably has Autons in it. And they were like, "Doctor, call us up if you want us to stop."
It was parked in some sort of field or something. Some off-the-map location.
Off the grid. And they're waiting for the master in there, I guess. And the Autons like, "We must go now." And Fell is like, "No."
Rob Farrell. No, not Rob
Rex.
Farrell. Rex Farrell. God, why do I want to call them Rob? Yeah, Rex is also, I guess he was on board with the master, but he's also being mind controlled by the master.
Right.
I think he starts to realize he's a little bit in over his head, at which point the master's like, "Nope, you're in this for the long haul, Rex." And he starts mind controlling him. But he dies.
He doesn't die till the end.
Oh yeah, he doesn't die yet.
Anyway, forget that plot point for a couple minutes.
Well, it happens.
Forget it for a couple minutes. The doctor tells Joe to call up the brig and like, hey, tell him to delay for a while. And turns out the walkie-talkie activates the daffodil. And that's how all the suffocations occurred, because the daffodil spits this plastic over Joe's mouth and nose, and she starts suffocating.
But the doctor removes it.
Yeah.
And saves Joe. And he starts studying the plastic, trying to find out what it is or how it works. And he finds out that if you breathe on it, it dissolves, which is why no trace of it was found on all the asphyxiation victims. Which I kind of didn't get this, because if it covered your mouth, wouldn't you
breathe on it all the time? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh well. Anyway, so the monster shows up in the office like, "Sup, doctor? I'm gonna kill you now, for real."
He's holding
space age gun.
Yeah. I guess it looked weird. It was almost T-shaped. Kind of.
Yeah.
Which was a little strange. But yeah, Joe has been sent out of the room for whatever reason. So it's just the doctor and the master.
Right.
And
the doctor is like, well, if you kill me, you'll destroy your dematerialization circuit. See, I've got it right here. And the monster's like, it appears you'll be living longer than expected, doctor. Anyway, Joe busts in and is like, no, doctor, stop, they're gonna bomb the truck. And then the monster's like, oh, now that's a development. Come, doctor, it looks like you can be some use after all. And the dog's like, no, Joe! No, Joe. No, Joe Dojo.
Mojo Jojo.
Oh my god.
The monkey thing from, what's it called?
Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah. I don't know how I know that, but, right, there was some weird dialogue here that I kind of didn't get. The master, when Joe bursts into the room, the master trains his gun on her, obviously, kind of, that makes sense. But then he says, he remarks to the doctor that Time Lords should die with dignity, and I don't know why he said that. Did you? I didn't get why he said that, because when Joe busts in, he says, "Oh, doctor, don't you think Time Lords should die with dignity or something like that?" And
I think the doctor said. I think
Joe
the doctor said something to prompt that when Joe came in, but I don't remember exactly what it was.
When he said "don't shoot" or something, but I still don't understand why that would have prompted the master to say that.
I think he meant the doctor should just take it like a man and just die.
That he should take the bullet for Joe?
No, he should just not protest and just die with honor, instead of being like, no, don't shoot, I'm innocent or whatever.
But I thought he was saying don't shoot Joe. I don't know. It was weird. It might have been one of those things that made sense if you read it and not in actual dialogue. I don't know. But either way, the master takes the doctor and Joe and ties them up in the van that Unit's gonna bomb.
Yeah.
And so there's only a few minutes left until the airstrike, and the brig, Yates, Benton, some other guys are in the bushes nearby. And the doctor manages to Morse code the brig somehow. I didn't get this either. Do you know what he was using to signal the brig? I assume it's some sort of light.
It was the brake light on the car, because when you push the brake light, when you push the brake on the car.
Okay, yeah, I didn't get that.
Yeah, it was using the brake light to signal Morse code to Brigadier.
Okay, yeah. Well, and he tells him that they're gonna
go to the radio tower.
Right, to
bring the Nestine back.
Bring the Nestines.
Well, but not back. Bring the
radio the Nestine to come to Earth and destroy things.
Yeah, ahead of plan, because the plan was to use the daffodils to kill off a bunch of them, the humans, and then when they're all in turmoil to invade.
Right. The master said that they had 450,000 daffodils. I don't remember why. I don't know why I remembered that, and I don't know why that was even specified. It's one of those things that were like, it was like, okay, so they're killing 450,000 people. It's usually, I don't know, I just thought it was weird because it's usually not specified.
Right.
But they did here for whatever reason. So,
they go there.
They call off the airstrike, rescue the Doctor and Joe. And they go to the radio telescope thing.
And by rescue, you mean the Doctor and Joe jump out of a moving vehicle, right? Because that's what happens.
Oh, yeah. Units following them or whatever also.
Yeah. But it's too late. The monster's already signaled the Nestines, and the Doctor's
coming.
Yeah, and then the Doctor shows up.
And then this
freaking Deus Ex Machina to end all Deus Ex Machina.
Well, I kind of justified this to myself, just in my head, because
I didn't even try.
The Master isn't really portrayed as a super competent arch villain type of guy. He's more of a
really.
Yeah, because he's using all these quote unquote cute ways to kill people. You know, he's kind of just a guy trying to mess with people.
Yeah, he's trying to mess with you. I would say that's the key point of an arch nemesis, is to mess with you before killing you.
Okay, I guess I phrased it wrong.
Every time that he was foiled in this was due to some lucky intervention by some otherworldly power, because the Doctor should have died, logically, in this serial. There was so many times in this serial he was saved by sheer dumb luck on Joe's part.
Okay, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is that he's not some sort of all-powerful being. You know, he's just a Time Lord who's...
I think he's supposed to be a darker mirror of the Doctor's character.
Exactly. That's why I kind of justified this, like... Plus, he's looking out for himself.
I guess, but he has the TARDIS. He has his TARDIS, though. And at that point, he doesn't know he's stuck yet. He has the dematerialization circuit from the Doctor at that point. He could just go to his TARDIS and leave, as far as he's concerned.
I guess, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to say that what they did is good, because it kind of wasn't, but...
Well, what we're talking about is
terrible, but we should probably explain what this
is. Well,
is.
what happens is the Doctor's like, do you really think the Nestine will differentiate between you and them, Master? And the Master's like...
Or you and us.
Yeah. And then the Master's like, well...
Shit.
And then the Doctor's like, well, we can reverse the polarity. And the Master's like, it might just work, let's do it. And it does. And apparently reverse the polarity is a catchphrase of the Third Doctor, so expect that to come back.
I thought it was reverse the polarity of the neutron field.
Yeah, but it just appears reverse the polarity in this serial.
Yeah. I guess it's later expanded upon. I guess it's his
They also made a throwback reference to reverse the polarity in the 50th anniversary, which, I mean, would make sense.
Yeah, I would.
There was a humorous scene where the 10th Doctor was like, we should reverse the polarity. And then the 10th and 11th Doctor did it and nothing happened. And the 10th's like, well,
Spoiler alert.
You're reversing it and I'm also reversing it. So we're reversing it back to normal. This happens within the first half an hour. This is not a spoiler.
I consider things that happen within the first half an hour a spoiler. Like, if you're watching a movie, like, that's pretty far in.
Well, the special is like an hour 20.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna forget it in 5 years. Anyway,
it's like 4 now.
Yeah, 4. Anyway, they managed to stop the Nestine consciousness again, and all the Autons, who were meanwhile, we didn't mention, having a shootout with Unit, they all fall down lifeless.
Then the monster makes an escape, by which I mean he just walks away off screen when the Brig and the Doctor aren't paying attention.
Right, he walks into the caravan thing.
Yeah, and then he comes out of the caravan, and then the Doctor's like, don't trust him. Don't trust him. Don't trust him. And then Yates, he pulls a gun, and then Yates is like, well, and Yates kills him.
And he walks over to the Master's dead body and flips it over, and, you know, that's the end of that.
No. The Doctor pulls off the mask and reveals it's actually Rex Bell.
Right, and this is when he actually dies.
And then the monster makes away in the caravan, and then it cuts back to, I guess, the Doctor's office, and he's like, well, Joe, you know, even though I'm still stuck here, guess what the monster is too, because I actually gave him my dematerialization circuit and not his. Ha ha!
And so Joe says that the Doctor doesn't seem to be too pressured about the master potentially coming back and trying to kill everyone. And the doctor says that he isn't, and he's actually looking forward to it.
And then it ends right there on that line. Boom. Done.
Pink credits. The credits sequence starts with pink. So yeah, that's the start of season 8. Essentially the same as season 7. They're not really switching it up, obviously, because the doctor's still in exile. And I don't know, this serial got me to thinking, when we first got into the Third Doctor, it's not that I was looking forward to the new format, but at the same time, I didn't think it would be bad. And I wouldn't say that it is flat out bad, but it's certainly less enjoyable now that it's just all on Earth, and that every serial has to do with UNIT.
Yeah, well, the draw of the show was the Doctor adventuring through space and time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I guess it'll get better now that there's a reoccurring villain for the Doctor to face, so there's like a purpose for the Doctor to be there instead of like the alien of the week showing up and being like, hey, what's up? And the Doctor being like, no, not happening.
Yeah, that'll definitely be something to look forward to. But while we're on the topic of a reoccurring villain, we should mention that the 2 reoccurring villains of this serial, the Nestines who appeared before and the Master who will appear later, are both not very fleshed out. I mean, our last time, in Spearhead from Space, we mentioned that the Nestines were made interesting right at the end when we find out what they actually are, with their collective consciousness and that they control the Autons and everything. So personally, I was looking forward to this serial which I knew they would come back because it's called Terror of the Autons.
Yeah.
Because I thought they would be a little more fleshed out. But not really. This served more as the Master's introduction, and the Autons/Nestines were just there as sort of a plot point for the Master to be involved with, almost.
They were there for the Master to be behind the scenes manipulating things, which is where I imagine he likes to be, in the shadows, working from the background. The serial, I guess, suffered from having 2 villains and not really knowing which one to focus on.
Right.
It wasn't sure if it wanted to be an introduction to the Master or a fleshing out of the Autons, and it ended up being
neither.
It ended up doing neither of them very well. It introduced the Master well enough that I'm looking forward to seeing him again, but
yeah, I mean, it established his character, but at this point, he's kind of just that just another manipulative villain. Until he reoccurs or reappears, then we'll see where he goes from there.
And
I guess.
Get more of his background between him and the Doctor, which was hinted at in this serial.
Right, because they know each other.
Yeah,
before
it's hinted at, but not fleshed out.
Presumably when he comes back, Joe or the Brig is going to be like, "Hey, that's the Master, and he's back." Isn't that? Doesn't he have some sort of grudge against you? Or I guess
doesn't he have a grudge against you? Well, I would assume so.
Well, I phrased that kind of awkwardly, but yeah.
Just mediocre start to season 8, which I was looking forward to, and now I'm just looking forward to the Master and not anything else of season 8.
Right. Hopefully, all I've got to say is hopefully the Master can make this format interesting, because so far it hasn't been.
So we got an email this week. Actually, the day after the episode went up, or the day it went up, actually, like 30 minutes before it went up. But its subject is "Don't read this subject." It's like, "Hi, Kiyan and Dylan. I've been catching up on your show recently. I'm at episode 28 now, and realized that I don't know what most of the characters have been looking like, or much about them. Like I didn't
know Vicky was 17 until she left.
Thanks. I was wondering if you could describe the characters more when they first show up, especially the companions. You may also have started doing this by now, I don't know, so if you have, please disregard this email."
No, we kind of haven't.
Anyway, I've been really enjoying listening to the show, trying to caught up soon, keep up good work, and look forward to future episodes. Cool. Well, we got vaguely better. Yeah, thanks. We did get vaguely better. We got better explaining at what they are, not what they look like, but...
Right. But we should definitely...
We did make a point of noting that Joe was not a scientist.
No, but we should this person, I presume they didn't want us to read their name because it's not in the body of the email. It has a point. We don't exactly explain their appearance, which might be kind of annoying if you're not watching along. If you're a Doctor Who fan who's only watched the reboot and you're just listening to this without having watched the original.
Well, let's be entirely fair. When it was in black and white, there wasn't really much to describe except, Jamie wore a kilt, Zoe wore sparkly silver in this episode. Like, now that we're in color, we can be like, oh yeah, Jo is, like, blonde. She's shorter than John Pertwee.
You can tell if someone's shorter in black and white.
It's true, but...
I think we should, since it was brought up, maybe we should go into Jo and the Master right now since they were introduced to this serial.
Yeah, okay.
Jo's blonde, like we said, and shorter than the Doctor.
That's actually all we know at this point that we can reliably say about her character, besides she's not a scientist. She mentioned that she was just an assistant that was kind of there looking for a job. That's all we know.
When you put it that way, she might have some sort of suspicious background. Or they might not go that route.
Or they just never go into it.
That could be a thing, too.
The Master, who is played by... Okay, here we go.
His name...
Rogers...
Well, he's credited as Roger Delgado.
Right, but his full name... Roger Cesar Marius Bernard Delgado Torres Castillo Roberto.
Right, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 names. Right.
For this whole serial, he wears a suit with a gold tie.
Purplish?
Ish?
Vaguely. It's like black tie. Purple.
It's
and
a gold tie.
A gold pocket kerchief thing.
Yeah.
His hair's combed back.
And he has menacing facial hair.
Right, he has that stereotypical villain stash, I guess.
He's just trying to look, stylish.
Styling.
I mean, if you think about it, if we're taking the Master as like a darker version of the Doctor, the Doctor's outfit is kind of lighthearted, It's got lots of frills on it. It's very colorful. It's got a cape. Whereas the Master's is kind of more stoic, not messing around type thing.
But it's also purple.
If you look hard enough, it's purple.
Right, the color isn't exactly very good in these serials. It's a bit washed out.
Early color television.
That's them.
The big dude wears an army uniform. That's really...
He has a handlebar mustache. Not a thick one, but...
the best facial hair on the show. Did we mention in Inferno when the Doctor showed back up at the Prime Universe and saw the Big and was like, you look much better with a mustache, Brigadier. Don't shave it off.
I think we did mention that. I think.
For some reason, I feel like we didn't.
Well, we mentioned it now.
But yeah.
Yeah.
We'll try to be better at that. No guarantees. This show has no guarantees except that it's here for our own entertainment and yours too, if that's what you're here for. Whether or not you'll ever learn anything from this show is debatable. If you'd like to debate us on that, email us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Also, check us out on YouTube at Trust Your Doctor. We're officially almost up to date on YouTube episodes.
Yep.
I'm only mentioning that because I feel like when I actually get up to date and all of a sudden it's only uploading once a week, everybody who was following along at the like 1 a day-ish rate, we're like, what's going on? So, and rate us on iTunes if you like the show, or if you didn't.
Also check out Facebook, like us on Facebook, that helps. And next week we continue season 8 and the return of the Master with what do we have? The Mind of Evil. So until then, the end.